Hey, welcome to today's video. We're talking about breathing and we're going to use the example of Beyonce Crazy in Love. We're looking at the bridge section. I was like, if we're going to do this song, we need to do the hardest bit. So let's look at the bridge.
You got me so crazy, baby. Got me looking so crazy, right?
And see how optimizing how we breathe is going to help us sing that bridge section. Can you believe that that song is 20 years old this year? I'm filming this video summer 2023. That came out summer 2003. Oh my God, I am getting old. I was dancing to that in a nightclub when I was 18, 20 years ago. Nuts. If you don't know me, I'm Gemma. I help singers become better contemporary music singers and release their own music, write their own music, find a producer, market themselves online, figure out their artist identity and brand, all in my Pro Vocal Artist program. If that's of interest to you, you can check the description below and book a coaching call with me, which is free. It's just for me to figure out if I would be the best mentor for you this year to help you get to the next level. Okay, let's jump into the video. We are talking about breath control. Breathing is a topic I tend to avoid a little bit as a singing teacher. Some singing teachers lean in hard, others lean back a little, and I lean back a lot, I would say actually, because I have, I suppose, maybe an unusual perspective on it. And I keep trying to have a different perspective on it. I swear to God, I will read books about breathing and reread them and be like, now, Gemma, after you read this book, you'll be like all the other singing teachers who think everything is about the breath. And I come away and I don't, and I just still don't.
I need to get out, honestly.
You need to get out?
Yeah, I'm going to be sick.
I was this close after the weekend to being like, breath is everything, breath is everything. And I was like, it's not though. The reason it's not, in my opinion, is because we're dealing with pressures above and below the vocal folds. Always. We cannot separate what's happening in the vocal tract from vocalization. And I can't seem to compartmentalize breath. I can't seem to separate them. We're talking about what's called transglottal pressure difference. The difference between the pressure, the energy that's created above the vocal folds from the way you're pronouncing a vowel, to the difference of what's happening below the vocal folds, which is the pressure that's contained underneath the vocal folds in the lungs. Okay? And your vocal folds are vibrating because of these two pressures above and below, right? The vocal folds would not vibrate. You will not make sound. They will not vibrate if there isn't activity, acoustic energy happening in the vocal tract. You need that in the vocal tract for the vocal folds to vibrate. So there's just no separating. It's a completely interactive, works together as a system. So there you go. I'm back to the same old perspective on breathing, that it's an interactive system. And I swear I have been trying to depart from that outlook, that paradigm of voice, to see if I can expand my paradigm, and I can't. I'm just stuck there until some new revolutionary science comes along that turns everything on its head. This is where I'm stuck.
This is not rocket
Step to the right,
science.
please.
And I'm happy to be stuck here. I like it. Let's just start this video by fundamentally understanding breathing. When you are breathing in, there is a muscle here, like a sheath of muscle here called the diaphragm. It sits high in the chest cavity. And when you breathe in, that contracts, and when it's contracting, it actually goes down and moves down and pushes all your organs and your intestines. They move down as the muscle goes down. And what that does is it actually creates space in the lungs for air to come in. When my lungs are all scrunched up, the diaphragm isn't descended, the pressure is higher inside my body than it is outside of my body in the room. When my diaphragm descends down, and then therefore my sacs, my bags, they open up and enlarge and the volume increases inside of them, then inside my body is a lower pressure than what is happening outside of my body. Therefore, the air naturally wants to go into my body because air will move from places of high pressure to low pressure. Imagine a crowd of people on a platform getting onto the tube. we're not all going to move to that one densely populated part of the carriage. We're going to disperse to the more empty parts of the carriage, right? So you're opening up the carriage, making it more empty and allowing therefore the natural transition from high pressure to low pressure to occur. So getting the diaphragm to descend as much as possible on your inhalation is muy importante, okay? So let's work on that. Now, from my experience, it's hard to directly communicate with the diaphragm. All of this is neurology, by the way, as in you've got to think about this as singing with the brain. So now let's practice our inhalation and get the diaphragm to descend as much as possible. It's hard to directly control the diaphragm. It's under our involuntary control throughout the day. It's actually easier to directly control and think about the lower abdominal wall. And in turn, they will indirectly communicate with the diaphragm in synchronicity to the breath coming in at the same time. So hand on the lower abdominal wall, and you're going to basically send a message from your brain to your lower abdominal wall to release. And I want you to just let the air drop into the body. Now, let's also benefit from the recoil. The recoil is this natural thing that happens to your body when you're absolutely emptied of air. Your diaphragm's going to want to drop down and allow you to bring in as much air as possible. Okay? So we're going to shush the air out to get that recoil. And now you're going to relax the lower abdominal wall, let the air drop in. Okay, so that's that, using the recoil, and we're also thinking about releasing the muscles in the lower abdominal wall to really encourage that diaphragm to descend down as much as possible so that we open up the lung sacs, the bags, as much as possible so that we can get in lots of air. Here we go again. So we're shushing the air out. Till it's all gone. Let the jaw drop as you bring the air into the body. Release the lower abdominal wall. Okay, cool. Now, this time I want you to experiment with taking the breath in through your nose. The reason I'm going to tell you to do this, I think you need to get good at both, because you will need to breathe with the mouth when you're singing because it's faster. It gets the air in faster. However, the nose creates more resistance to the air, which actually helps you take more air in, and it helps you really activate the diaphragm more, right? So I would actually practice with the nose a lot. I would practice some with the mouth and then perform usually with the mouth. But you've kind of strengthened up that communication pathway with the diaphragm by using nasal breathing in practice. So again, we're shushing the air out. Now you're going to let the air in through the nose. Well done. What's kind of beautiful about the nose is that it's slower as well. And you can almost like see the diaphragm moving down slowly and things releasing slowly and moving out slowly and the air filling up. I think it's really cool. So now let's look at the out breath, the exhalation. Our typical rhythm for breathing is like 1 second in, 2 seconds out. So it's like ga, ha, ga, ha, ga, ha. When we're singing, we're going to be breathing in ga, ha, ga, ha, na, 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 na. And maybe longer. So we are extending that exhalation beyond its natural rhythm. Okay, we're hacking the system a little bit and getting fancy. So let's practice that extended exhalation. The challenge with an extended exhalation, I think, is mainly about being comfortable with carbon dioxide being in your body for a lot longer than usual. Because really, breath, what is breath fundamentally? It's an exchange of gases. It's oxygen come in, carbon dioxide go out, right? So of course, when you think about what it's fundamentally all about, then you need to understand that that's probably the reason why an extended exhalation is difficult, because your body isn't used to that longer ratio of carbon dioxide being present in the body. Yeah? So let's get good at that. And we're going to breathe in now, and I'm going to get you to tss out for as long as you can. Okay. And you are going to use a timer on your phone. So we're going to do a timer. And so you're breathing in. So we're getting that nice recoil breath again. Shh. You're going to let the air drop in. And start. So beyond the point of 30 seconds for me is when my body gets a little bit uncomfortable with the carbon dioxide being in my body. I didn't like it.
No, I'm actually going to cry. I've just got...
And so I can kind of push through, but my nervous system alarm starts going off then. And that is something that I want you to train yourself to become more and more comfortable with and to extend over time. Because then we're also going to practice a vocalization on that. So you would do your recoiling out. Shh. You want to breathe in. And maybe on like an ooh. Etc. Right? So then you're going to time your ooh vowel. You're going to time how long you can sing the ooh for and time how long you can do the tss for. And then you divide the ooh by the tss. I got 25 seconds, let's say, for the ooh. And then I divide that by 30 seconds. That means I have a 0.833 ratio, which is what we're looking for. Now, we probably want those numbers to be a little bit higher in terms of maybe getting to 35 or 40 seconds for the tss. And then whatever will come in at a 0.8 ratio for the ooh. And so I would work on that continuously over time and building it up. And how you would practice, that would be the test. And then how you would practice would be potentially doing like a box breath where you're breathing in, breathing. Hold 2, 3, 4, and then for 8 seconds, ooh. Hold 2, 3, 4. Wait, 2, 3, 4, ooh. And keep trying to extend that. There's a lovely exercise on a series called Funky and Fun by Kim Chandler. And the exercise goes 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10 and 11 and 12 and 13. It's so good. And then it goes to 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10 and 11 and 12 and 13, 14, 15. And I think that's a wonderful way to practice because you're counting it. You could even extend that a little bit more. So you could come up with your own fun little riff for that and put numbers on it so that you're able to measure how much your exhalation is growing. But notice the component of the nervous system with this. The nervous system, the alarms going off, your brain going, you can't hold this phrase for any longer, has a lot more with your nervous system being uncomfortable with carbon dioxide being in your body for a prolonged period of time. Right? So now let's talk about the voice being supported. I don't think the voice can be supported from one side. I think the voice is always being supported from top and bottom. Always. You cannot separate them. When you hear somebody having a transformation on a video, if you're watching YouTube and you're watching people getting something fixed in their voice from a breath support tip or technique that their teacher has just given them, it wasn't just below the vocal folds that changed, above the vocal folds changed also. Now you can just focus on below the vocal folds, but you cannot separate what has happened positively, change-wise, above the vocal folds. Therefore, I don't think it's wise to ever think about breath support without thinking about what the vocal tract is doing simultaneously. They're always in conversation. This is called transglottal pressure difference. It's about getting the pressure difference below and above the vocal folds right. One of the best ways to do this is with something like a singing straw or any SOVT. And that's why they're so popular, and that's why it feels like magic, because you're literally getting magic, the full complete support of the voice. So just to demonstrate, I want you to put your hand on your lower abdominal wall and you're going to puff the cheeks out like this. Can you feel the engagement in your lower abdominal wall when you do that? The muscle contracts. I want you to put your hand on your lower rib cage and I want you to do the same thing. You want to puff the cheeks out as if you're blowing the birthday candles out. Can you feel the engagement in the obliques? So they're always in conversation. I think it was Johann Sundberg, who said that less professional, like more amateur singers rely on subglottal pressure only, so the air pressure below the vocal folds, which is just like, I just have good breathing, and that's actually more of an amateur approach, and that a professional approach is about being able to manipulate the air pressures above and below the vocal folds. So basically having good resonance, because that's all that the air pressure is in relation to above the vocal folds. It's just resonance. That's why I'm so bullish on resonance. And sometimes when you fix the resonance, this kind of sorts itself out below. Once you can get a good quality inhalation and you're able to really release that diaphragm as much as possible, and you're able to tolerate high levels of carbon dioxide in the body for longer, so that you can do those longer phrases and not kind of collapse and rush towards the end. Now, the other aspect to support that probably shouldn't be overlooked is that we do want to delay the rise of the diaphragm. I really do like the idea of appoggio, I think, which is the lean. It's an Italian bel canto technique. You put it in, there's lots of YouTube videos talking about it. And it's really about that delay, that control of the rise of the diaphragm back up again. Because we do want the stomach to go back in again as we're singing, right? Most schools of thought are more in favor of that belly in than the belly out technique. The belly out technique can lock the voice, lock up the system. I'm really into letting my body teach me what to do and then leaning into that a little bit more. Let's practice this in the context of a song. Okay, let's explore this. Let's explore transglottal pressure difference and support technique in the context of a song. I'm just going to sing the bridge of Beyonce, For Better or Worse, just to get a bass line. Got me looking so crazy, my baby. I'm not myself lately. I'm foolish, I don't do this. I've been playing myself lately. I don't care, 'cause your love's got the best of me. And baby, you're making a fool of me. You better be sprung and I don't care who sees, 'cause baby, you've got me good. You got me. Oh! Let's practice it on the straw. And I'm going to get you to put your hand on your lower abdominal wall. We're going to go back to that section again. So we're going to be practicing. And I want you to feel what's happening in the lower abdominal wall as we practice this on the straw. Or if you don't have a straw, you're going to use your thumb and puffy cheeks like this. Ready? So you you should feel like the abs are working. They're having a little workout. Now this time, let's do puffy cheeks. We won't be able to do the thumb now because I'd like you to use both hands on your lower rib cage, but I want you to be aware of the obliques here, and some intercostal muscles are going to get active as well, but lower in the rib cage rather than higher. So low, okay? And we're going to be interested now in what's happening in the sides, and when we feel some activity, let's kind of go with it, right? So go with what your body is naturally doing and see if you can dial that up a little bit. So we're just blowfish like this. Are you feeling activation in the sides, in the muscles, in the obliques? Do you feel it working? And it's working in response to the high pressures that I'm creating above the vocal folds. So it's in a dance, in a conversation with that. But it's also really benefiting from you putting your hands there and getting the brain to find that and think about that and become aware of it, and then start dialing it up a little bit. So I would practice both with the lower abdominal wall here and with my hands on my side. And, you know, nice and tight, really wake it up and let it get active. And you'll notice, like, when your phrase is going for a bit longer, the muscles really start kind of amping up and start contracting even more. Or when you're going to higher notes, sometimes the muscles get a little bit stronger, and just you need to get involved. They already know how to do their job, but you're going to get involved and start participating. Okay, so the next step, we could do like girl in a box as a next step for this. What I mean by girl in a box, just look at this version of Jessie J doing it. So we're actually going to sing the lyric, but with puff in our cheeks.
I'm claustrophobic, Darren!
And we're going to be really aware of the lower abdominal wall. So you're... It's going to be funny. The rate of phrasing and articulation is also going to be a challenge on top of all of this. So you could get the ratio of air above and below the vocal folds just right, and you have this very, very consistent tone on your SOVT, or even if you just sang it on a vowel, then you put the different vowels and different consonants back in, and it kind of turns into chaos. That's why I really like the step of practicing girl in a box with the blowfish. Let's try that again. Don't worry if you're not like perfectly pronouncing it, just get as close as you can with the puffy cheeks. We're going to do this now with hands on your side, breathing in, yeah. So what I like about when I have my hands on my lower rib cage is I can actually feel when the lower abdominal wall is taking over one part of the phrase, and then these get onto the end of the phrase, and they're like working together as a team, and I'm like, come on. So next, I want you to, we're going to sing the lyric now, but I'm going to get you to imagine that you have that, because to me what that feels like is like being a Mrs. Potato or a Mr. Potato Head, you know, where I'm kind of like just, and I actually love practicing this stuff sitting down, because generally when you're developing somebody's ability to breathe well, you want to start them lying flat on their back on the floor, then they want to graduate to sitting up, and then the final step is to stand. And so I actually would recommend practicing this lying down, sitting down before standing. But right now I want you to ground your feet on the floor, sitting on the edge of your chair. I want you to imagine that like you're just a torso. Your legs are just kind of hanging out at the torso, but and the bottom half of you is bigger than the top half of you. Like you're like a potato, where this is the big bit and then this is the smaller bit, right? And you're really letting the voice sit into the bottom of the potato. I know, I feel like so cliched saying potato with an Irish accent.
Setback for potato space race.
What has you here?
Leave me alone. But you're imagining that you're letting the voice fall into the bottom of the potato here. And I'm always giving out about people who have stupid metaphors for singing. That might be the stupidest one. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, you know, just forget about potatoes. But basically, I want you to focus your mental energy and attention on the lower abdominal wall and the lower rib cage. And I want you to feel the contraction of the muscle, the activation of the muscle, and I want you to lean in. So kind of lean into it. This is the apogeo technique. What we're doing is we're actually delaying the rise of the diaphragm. We're also creating extra pressure in the torso as air is leaving the body, so that we can continue, because the air itself is actually the support. So at the beginning, the reason the beginning of the phrase is easier than the end of the phrase is because you've got the air underneath the vocal folds supporting the voice. So as the air leaves the body, we have to do more trickery to kind of keep maintaining that level of pressure in there. So let's go. Let's do this. So keep that feeling of that. So hands in lower rib cage. Just do a quick, so we get the sensation. So we're breathing in. Breathing in. Here we go. Keep that feeling of that blowfish. Got me looking so crazy, my baby. I'm not myself lately. I'm foolish. I don't do this. I've been playing myself. Lately I don't care, 'cause your love's got the best of me. And baby, you're making a fool of me. It better be sprung and I don't care who sees, 'cause baby, you've got me good. You got me, oh, your love, so crazy. Touch got me looking so crazy right now, your love. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that felt so much better. That was so fun. So I hope you had fun today and that you learned something new and that your voice felt a little transformation, or that you were able to understand and hear the transformation in my voice, and that, yeah, breathing and support is a little less of a mystery. And yeah, thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.